10 fantasy movies from the 2000s that are perfect from start to finish. Crafting the perfect fantasy movie is a difficult task since so much can go wrong throughout the process. The genre is popular, but there are plenty of audiences who are easily turned off by too much magic and escapism, preferring films to feel more rooted in reality. However, a good fantasy movie understands that within the fantastical worlds and incredible magic systems, there are kernels of realism and universal truths about the human experience. It's the characters and their emotional journeys that are the most relatable and keep viewers returning to these otherworldly adventures. For a film to be widely considered a fantasy movie masterpiece, it needs to be structurally flawless, visually engaging, and have a compelling appeal to the viewer's pathos. Plenty of films fall short, exceeding in one category, but getting too swept up in the creation of the world rather than the arcs of the characters. However, when a movie does get it right, there's nothing better than a flawless fantasy movie. The early 2000s was a standout decade for fantasy and included timeless additions to the genre. The Prestige is an underrated Christopher Nolan movie starring Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale as competing magicians in a steampunk fantasy world. Crafted like a magic trick, The Prestige draws the audience in, misdirects them, and then shocks them with the kind of twist ending that Nolan is known for. While The Prestige plays with time and perception, as all of Nolan's films do, it's one of the more character-driven and emotional stories the filmmaker has brought to life, as the audience gets deeply invested in the dueling magicians' personal journeys. Fortunately, even upon a rewatch, The Prestige continues to be one of the most unexpectedly thrilling additions to the fantasy genre. Even if The Prestige is less explicitly magical and spellbinding than other fantasy movies, watching it for the first time is entrancing as the viewer tries to piece together the trick. However, just as the magicians say in The Prestige, you don't really want to know how the trick is done because that destroys the illusion. Fortunately, even upon a rewatch, The Prestige continues to be one of the most unexpectedly thrilling additions to the fantasy genre. The Shrek movies have been an enduring and popular part of the animated fantasy genre since the first movie was released in 2001. It's true that the original film was a huge step forward in terms of computer animation and bringing animated movies to a wider audience that included adults. However, Shrek 2 was when the franchise perfected its formula and is the best installment of the series. Following Shrek and Fiona after they found their happily ever after, Shrek 2 raises the stakes and includes even more classic fairy tales. The fairy godmother is one of the best animated movie villains of the early 2000s, and the many iconic musical numbers throughout the film cement it as both skillful and hilarious. While the Shrek movies are known for their tongue-in-cheek humor and poking fun at the tropes of the fairy tale genre, they all contain genuinely touching messages. In Shrek 2, the characters realize that they don't have to change themselves for anyone, and that they will be loved for who they are. It's incredible that the idea for an atmospheric theme park ride could have expanded so far that it sparked the creation of one of the best fantasy franchises of the 2000s. However, Pirates of the Caribbean has far exceeded the expectations of the ride, and the flawless first installment set it on this path. Pirates of the Caribbean. The Curse of the Black Pearl has romance, adventure, and ghost stories, all making for an ambitious story that weaves together seamlessly by the film's conclusion. Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom make a touching romantic pair as Elizabeth and Will, lovers from two different social standings who are brought together by their mutual desire for a life of adventure. Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom make a touching romantic pair as Elizabeth and Will, lovers from two different social standings who are brought together by their mutual desire for a life of adventure. The Pirates of the Caribbean 6 movie must overcome the trend of drawing out the story that began in Pirates of the Caribbean. The Curse of the Black Pearl if there's going to be hope for the franchise's future. While the first movie is easily the best, this story structure can't be imitated. It must be used as a reference for new narratives.